Functional Health Chiropractic and Physical Therapy, presenting you the exercise of the day. Today's exercise, we're going back to intra-abdominal pressure and comparing it to abdominal hollowing versus abdominal bracing. Understanding why we want to, when and why we want to use abdominal bracing and why we do not want to perform abdominal hollowing. With the understanding of all of this, our core is the foundation to all movement. So understanding how to perform intra-abdominal pressure is very important to perform regular daily activities, such as running, such as walking, single leg stands, even light forms of lifting. Understanding how to appropriately use the pressurized system so we don't recruit other muscles which cause injury in the long run. So having a strong core is the foundation to allowing your body to be able to move appropriately. It's like building your house on solid rock versus building your house on sinking sand. We want to make sure that that foundation is nice and strong and firm so then your house can stand. If you build it on sinking sand or your core is weak, now all of your muscles have to work overtime and the structure is going to still find some way to crumble or you're going to get an injury. So we're going to discuss intra-abdominal bracing. So first we're going to begin with understanding why and how. Intra-abdominal bracing, the understanding of it, so our abdominal wall and our abdomen, our core really, consists of all the way from our chest all the way down to the pelvic floor. So understanding that, and then it spreads all the way 360 degrees around. So it comes up from our core. Then you have your obliques, we have our rectus abdominis, so that nice lovely six-pack. You have your transverse abdominis. We even have, like I said, all of those pelvic floor muscles that are incorporated in the core. In addition, your low back muscles and your mid-back muscles are all part of your core as well. So we want them all to work in synchrony together whenever it does come time to do some type of task. So when it comes to intra-abdominal pressure, what you actually want to create is almost a balloon type of effect, where you're going to brace out all the way around, and I shouldn't use the word brace, where you actually want to create pressure all the way around, almost as if you were a balloon filled with air. So whenever you do actually, like I'll use the balloon for instance, but when you do fill it with air, that's almost what you want to do with your intra-abdominal pressure. So this balloon is now filled with some air, and it's pressing all the way around 360 degrees in every which direction. So it would be the same type of concept that we want to create with this core. We want to pressurize that system all the way around, which will then help you lock everything in place. Another big focus that you want to pay attention to is the placement of where that rib cage is over our pelvic floor. So we don't want to be flared, we don't want to be overly arched, because then our pressure is going to go in different directions, but not necessarily down, like almost like I'm going to use another analogy, almost like a soda can, where when you actually bring your rib cage over your pelvic floor, now we've created that cylindrical effect. It allows us to optimally use our core and use that cylindrical effect, like almost like a soda can, or like this can right here. So if I want to try to press down or crush this, it's not going anywhere. If you want to try to crush a dented soda can, very easy to crush, which I demonstrated in my previous video. So this is intra-abdominal pressure. Then there's abdominal hollowing. A lot of times, different schools of thought talk about abdominal hollowing or sucking the belly button in towards the spine to activate your transverse abdominis. Yes, it does turn on a muscle group, but it actually is shown to turn off other muscle groups. So drawing that belly button in might turn on that transverse abdominis, that low muscle right here that extends across. But now we're shutting off your lumbar muscles, we're shutting off your mid-back muscles, we're turning on vital muscles to allow us to perform those movements. And it's actually putting you into a different type of positioning as well, where your pelvis and rib cage aren't aligned together and you're not optimally working. So abdominal pressure or abdominal hollowing, yes, there's people who do it, but it's not the correct way that I instruct people to run, to walk, to do every daily activity. Then there's abdominal bracing. So when it comes to intra-abdominal pressure, you want I'm gonna go and start there, and then we're gonna branch to bracing. Intra-abdominal pressure is required for all movements. It's required to, the amount, you need to do the amount that's required for the activity. So it doesn't always mean it's all or nothing, but abdominal bracing is that all movement. When you tighten up and you firm everything up. So intra-abdominal pressure is that everyday movement. You create that pressure 360 degrees. We're able to move. We're able to still keep our rib cage and pelvic floor locked in place. We're able to move our arms overhead. We're able to walk. We're able to run and maintain that nice solid core. Abdominal pressure, abdominal bracing, I should say, is important to get through that tough moment. So whether it's you're lifting or deadlifting and you're stuck at the bottom and you need to create that extra oomph to get out of it, or you're swinging a baseball bat and you're about to impact with the ball. That moment, that split second where everything needs to fire up together. That is an abdominal brace. That is where, as if someone was gonna come in and sucker punch you, you wanna be a solid rock, you wanna be a solid wall, and it's not going anywhere. But if you create all that solid movement, you're not able to move every other body part fluidly. So you don't want to live in abdominal bracing. You don't want to run in abdominal bracing. You don't want to do all activities where you're just tight and rigid. We want to have that pressure in our core, but still have mobility in our shoulders and our hips, in the rest of our body. You want your core to remain stationary. You want it to remain in that cylindrical position, but we don't want every body part of us to move in that type of way. One exercise, so this is a little more discussion today, but the way that you can practice it, one, you can practice it sitting, one, you can practice it laying down, and then even practicing the differences between the two. So the intra-abdominal pressure is just like I said, expanding out 360 degrees, pressing every which direction. Think about pressing into every angle of your belt loop. Not just up in the upper part, not just in the middle section where everyone can control, even thinking as low down as almost pressing towards and out and expanding still into our hip flexor muscles, almost our pelvic floor. Those are still important muscles that can cause us pain if we don't know how to activate our core low down as well. So just sitting here and pressing out. When you do this, you should still be able to breathe. I'm pressing out and I'm still able to talk. You want to be able to still breathe while maintaining that optimal pressure. Then every so often, you can do an abdominal brace where you then firm everything up. So now everything's locked, is solid, and then you can relax. And just let everything relax in general. So you can perform this exercise sitting, or we can even go down to where you're laying down and legs up onto a chair. So I have the yoga mat here. You're gonna place your legs up onto the yoga mat. You're gonna keep that rib cage down, back, actually pretty flat, but you're gonna like press down into the mat. So it's not so much that we're tucking or anything, we're not doing any tilts with our hips. We're just actually bringing that rib cage down and having everything expand. So really think about that pressure down into the floor with our back, more so that it should be your pressure that's creating that movement, not so much our hips tilting in any which direction. So it's pressuring all the way around and just focusing on that bracing. Now what you can do is either just lift both legs up and still create that pressure. And then, like I said, there's moments of now brace. Now tighten up everything. And then relax, still maintaining pressure, and then brace. And then relax, good. So you can do this exercise where you do long holds, 30-second holds, and you can do it once a day. Actually, 1, 2, even 3 times a day. 30-second holds, you can do it seated, you can do it laying down. But really, optimally, you should be using it every time that you go to perform some type of activity. Eventually, you don't have to think about it as much, so it should become your subconscious whenever you go to activate your core. So whenever you go to lift something, you shouldn't have to think, all right, turn on core, lift. It should eventually just become core turns on as I go to lift up something. So right now, focusing on the movements so you can master how to turn on that core. So when it does come to regular activities, you're able to do it without any thought behind it. So for more information and for help with understanding the difference and how to activate that intra-abdominal pressure, how to activate our core appropriately, come and see physical therapy. And I can go into more nitty-gritties and specify it specifically towards you. Find your weaknesses, find out why you're having trouble lifting something, why you have acute low back pain, or why you're even having, let's go as far as minor leakage whenever you are walking or running or sneezing or coughing. So all of these things, understanding how to use your core is important so you don't have any problems with these down the road. And that is intra-abdominal pressure.